In part 2 of tonight's episode, we have a Q&A with Keith from the No Whine Cellar. So let's start off with our first one. And Keith, if you could just give us a quick, 1 minute introduction, who you are, what you do.
Hey, I'm Keith Honeycutt. You probably know me better as the No Whine Cellar on Instagram, the gym with all the orange stuff and the York equipment. Really into powerlifting and started home gym 2015, so just keep chugging along with that, and basements are better than garages, as always.
All right, so how long have you had a home gym, and what was the primary reason that you started?
So going on 7 years, I think. So it started at 2015, right around my 30th, right before my 30th birthday. We got into lifting probably a year or two before that. My wife and I joined a local LA Fitness, and that was all fine and good. And then my job started being a lot more demanding on travel and working longer days. And the last thing I wanted to do was spend, an hour commute going to the gym. So at that point, I was getting in. My wife had already started powerlifting, and I was, on her heels, following her in the sport also. So with powerlifting, you really just need to squat. I can do everything I need with a squat rack and a bench and some plates, and then eventually get some more stuff. So I was like, I can do this at home and not have to go to the gym 3 or 4 days a week. So just saved the commercial gym for the weekends and tried to get a couple of sessions during the week. So it was mainly strictly convenience at the time.
Where's your gym? I mean, I know you're a basement gym, so I guess we could start with that. Like, why do you prefer the basement over the garage?
I had to put my gym in the basement because my only other option is a detached, like half a stall garage that has no power or, obviously no ability to heat it or cool it. So my basement is like 5 times the size of my garage. So for just sheer having the ability to expand and grow, and at least in my personal situation, the basement is significantly better location. And climate control is hard to beat. I get that you can climate control garages and attached garages and detached garages, but it's a lot easier to just open up my vent that's already in the basement than it is to spend several $1,000s to get a mini split put in.
What kind of square footage is your basement?
It's a 1,000 square foot ranch house, so I've got about 700 square foot of the basement solely dedicated to gym. I don't have any interior walls in the basement or anything, so just 1/4 of it is essentially the laundry room. There's a little bit of storage, and then the backside I have the little bit remaining of my workshop that I haven't given up on yet. So I still have some toolboxes back there, but 75% of my basement is gym. So 700 square foot-ish.
How did you actually start your home gym? With what equipment did you begin with?
So it's got a couple of different iterations. I think I've had some kind of just crappy yard sale, standard plastic weights, bench press with a punching bag in the corner since I moved in the house in like 2010. But it wasn't until we started going to the gym in maybe like 2012, 2013. And then, that's when so basically 2015, the very beginning start was, I was at a yard sale or something, and someone was selling dumbbells for 50 cents a pound. So I bought $100 worth of dumbbells. It was like, 5 to 30 pound dumbbells. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that was the start. And then I got an Olympic bar and some plates. I had a friend that sold me a squat rack really cheap. So I got a Titan T2 for $100. And I hate that thing so much because it's like the thinnest gauge metal. And it's the only thing Titan in my gym that I've ever had. It just have a very small corner that fits in. So I haven't found anything that's like the perfect fit for that corner yet. But it's like basically the third rack we use. But as far as how we started, dumbbells, flat bench, squat rack, 300-pound weight set, and just deadlifted on a thick piece of plywood for like a year before I got the stall mats and built a deadlift platform after a while. And then that was only, we were talking like 100 square foot maybe, and then it just slowly started to expand as the years went on.
Speaking of expanding, how often do you find yourself adding to your gym?
When we first started, it was, literally every weekend I was on Marketplace. That's how I built the gym. I'm one of those guys that flipped weights for profits for years and years and years, and did never have to put any of my like family budget money into the gym. So I basically would upgrade and expand as flips and funds allowed. So I spent 5 years probably growing the gym, but it hasn't really got much bigger in the last couple of years. It's more or less I'm maxed out as far as size that I can have in the basement. So at this point, it's just upgrading stuff, not necessarily adding. If something's coming in, something's probably coming out at this point. But I would still say quarterly I'm doing something with a different bar or a different pair of plates, or like just upgrading the squat rack last week.
Makes sense. So what does your home gym look like today, or can you at least cover some of the main pieces you have?
Yep, I've got two of the main piece for me is it's a competition bench press. So it's with got face savers and a lifting platform, so I don't necessarily have to wheel a bench into a squat rack. We do, just because we have multiple people here sometimes. But so the big bench is the centerpiece. I've got two Rogue Monster squat stands with spotter arms that are one of them is my daily driver. The other one's like basically the secondary squat rack, and then the Titan T2 is the third squat rack. York roundhead dumbbells from 1 pound all the way up to 100 pounds, the full complete set of the vintage York roundheads. 4,000-ish pounds of milled era York plates. Got a couple 100 pounds of bumper plates, 20-ish barbells, deadlift platform, lat pull down low row, leg extension, leg curl combo, 3 utility benches for the dumbbell section. More or less it. So that's a lot. It's basically it's a barbell gym. There's not going to be a ton of equipment down here. The 2 or 3 pieces I have are the ones I always recommend to people if they're getting into the home. Like someone's like, okay, I've got the basics. What should I buy next? Always my answer is a lat pull down with a low row and then some kind of leg machine.
Being that you're in a basement, what kind of lighting do you use?
I've got just LED screw-in lights. That's something it's the bane of my existence down here. It's very hard the lights hang down so low that there's a glare in every picture or video that I have. So I'm actually in the process of trying to basically essentially put a can light in that's flush with the floor joist. So that's just a slow project I'm working on. It's not really a priority. It's just something if I have a couple hours one day, I already have the material. It's just a matter of doing it.
How about mistakes? I mean, you mentioned the T2 rack, but is there anything else any glaring mistakes you've made, or what would you go back on these days?
There's a couple bars I bought, like used, that I thought I would get a lot of use out of, that I turned around and just, if it sat for more than a few months without getting regular use, I've gotten rid of it. But the Titan rackable camber bar, I wasn't a fan of. The thing weighs like 85 pounds, and I already had an SSB and I already had a Duffalo, so I already had ability to take stress off my upper body and still squat. So I wasn't utilizing it enough to justify the spot on my gun rack. As far as a mistake, like a glaring mistake is basically just not starting my York collection sooner, because I had I had a cap Olympic, like the standard barbell, like the black and silver cap plates for 2 or 3 years, and had a couple thousand pounds of those before I was found enough York plates to start transferring over my collection, basically. So just maybe start going after niche items you prefer sooner than later, because shit's just getting more expensive. And then maybe if you have if you think you want to expand, just do it. don't wait for the right time to buy something, to upgrade. Just go ahead and do it. That's one thing I wish. Looking back on pictures from even just 2 or 3 years ago, I'm like, I don't even recognize the gym. And a lot of that is just there might not be as many posters on the wall or flags or stuff isn't painted. For me, just having that atmosphere, like coming downstairs right now, I'm motivated to work out. I've painted as much stuff orange as I possibly could. I've got almost every square inch with some kind of motivational flag or banner, or a company that I support, or, the walls are being used for storage of this, that, or the other. There's not a whole lot of dead space down here on the walls or on the floor anywhere. So just don't wait to make the gym the one you want it to be.
Yeah. No, and that's really good advice, because something as simple as paint or flags or whatever really makes you want to use your gym. What's your favorite purchase for your home gym?
The competition bench press. It's almost out of date now, because the guy that made it already has he's already changed the design 3 different times. So if I went to go buy it new now, it'd have nicer features, but I love that thing. That was my biggest purchase at the time. It was well over $1,000. And I was actually able to pay for it for a bunch of overtime I had worked, so it kind of didn't really cost me anything, so it was kind of nice. Other things that we should looking for one item, I guess it'd be that, but if I had to go with top 3, it'd be the bench, the Duffalo bar, and then probably my York deep dish plates.
Who made your bench?
State-of-the-art welding. It's SOA or SOTA, depending on how you look at his Instagram. I think he has it written down 2 different ways, but he's a local metal fabrication guy out in Western New York. I know he's actually got a few thousand. I mean, his page is growing. He does mostly gym equipment, but he does some other like oddball stuff. But I think he actually has like some guys working underneath of him now. But it was a no-brainer. It was half of what Elite FTS wanted, and I could go drive a half hour and pick it up.
Cool. How about future purchases? So what's next on your
wish list is probably stuff that might not ever be able to be purchased, just because I don't think Chris Duffin's ever going to get their shit together out there with the nickel plating. But I want a deadlift of the Kabuki PR deadlift bar, preferably in nickel, so it matches my Buffalo bar. And I want the New Gen Power Bar, preferably in nickel, so it matches my Buffalo bar. But if I have to settle for black oxide, I will. I don't want to spend $700-800 on a bar that's just going to rust and blemish. Versus I've had the nickel Buffalo for a couple years and it's spotless.
Notice your T-shirt, repping Massenomics. We love those guys. What do you love most about the Massenomics podcast?
I've been following the podcast for a few years. They're good guys. I mean, it's basically just they are just normal dudes just sitting in their basement shooting the breeze about drinking beer and podcasting and working out. Their saying is lift hard, live easy. So the whole being dedicated in the gym, but also having a good time outside of it. And it's essentially it's a big pun. It's a big running joke. It's all inside jokes. It's just, this whole little world we're a part of. That's just, I've gained personal friends I've met in real life solely through being fans of the podcast together. I've had a couple guys that have been in the area for work or whatnot come over and work out with me that I've just wouldn't have known if it wasn't for being in the Discord for Massenomics.
What is the Discord of Massenomics like?
It's awesome. If you're not looking at it pretty quick, fairly often, because there's 4 or 5 different groups inside of it or chats. It's really hard or it's really easy to have 300 unread messages essentially. But it's a lot of times it's the same 20 guys maybe going back and forth, but then you get someone that you haven't seen a message from in 6 months, and they just come in with a zinger out of nowhere that just gets 100 reactions. But it's what you would expect. I mean, it's the same thing as look at the comment section on any one of their posts that blows up. It's kind of like that, just in a little more private form.
Sorry,
I was just gonna say I feel like it's a meme gold mine from the stuff they share from that Discord crew. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've made a meme or two, and I'm not even the top 10 of the people that make memes on there. But there's nothing better than making a meme and actually getting multiple reactions to it. The worst is when you think it's the funniest meme in the world, and it's been up for an hour, and you get there's no responses, and you're just I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. No one, we'll just forget about that.
The week of us starting a podcast, I think it was right before we were doing some podcasts, but we hadn't quite launched. And you said something like, we need Garage Gym podcasts. And I said something like, we got one coming or something like that. And you've always been good about giving feedback or just saying what you're looking for. And I know you've listened to quite a few of our episodes. So I'd just be curious to hear what would make our podcast better, and just know that we really don't care about the feedback or no hard feelings. We're not offended. We truly just want to make it better. So just be curious to hear what you think we could do better. And a lot of this stuff we're just winging. So yeah, honestly, no hard feelings.
Sometimes I'm in the middle of it, and I'm I have no clue who the guest is. And even if you did a quick little introduction, it either wasn't an introduction or it glazed over my head and I just didn't catch who it was. And I'm it's hard to get involved with someone you don't know who they are. So if I have no clue who's talking, I don't care what they're saying for the most part, I guess. But once you actually know who it is, then I have a lot. I'm more attached to that. So more than the 30-second, or trying to just informing the listener who the actual guest is. I think the ones that were the hardest was when it was more of a round table and there was a couple people where I'm not positive I know who that is at the time. So it was just okay. But I mean, it's hard to introduce when you have multiple people. But for the most part, it's been fun. I think it's one of the, it's definitely, there's not a whole lot of other content out there like that I'll consume as much home gym information as I can. So it's great for me, so keep it up. But it's, just keeping the listener, more informed maybe off the bat who we're hearing from, which I know it's hard. Like, how do you have to cut and crop and all that, but that's there's been a couple times where I'm just like, I'm not sure who this is.
No, that's good feedback. The last question I can think of is you regularly have guests at your home gym. You have scheduled meetups, and it looks like sometimes you get a handful of people showing up in your basement. They do a Sunday lift or a weekend lift, something like that. Could you explain how that originated and what that means for you as you continue to utilize your home gym?
Absolutely, yeah. That's a huge part of how the gym has been able to expand and why it has expanded over the years. So probably 2018, I think, I had met a couple people at a powerlifting meet who are now two of my closest friends. And I was, at that point, I think I had already had like one guy come over and train a couple times. Like, I invited him over, but just wasn't consistent or anything like that. And then I was just kind of like, I love training alone. Training alone 3/4 of the time is the best thing ever, but 100% of the time gets kind of boring and just lonely. So trying to facilitate a way to get people to come over. At the time, it was easy because I was like one of the only people that had like deadlift bars and squat bars and all that good stuff. So I had two people that started coming over regularly for a solid couple years, and then one of them started bringing their significant other. So there was every Sunday there was 4 or 5 of us for like 2 years straight, and then the pandemic hit, and one of my friends moved away. So then I lost like half my crowd basically. And the last year or so, I've had another crew of a couple people. Another couple that have been coming over regularly. So it's just, there's just local powerlifters that I've met in the powerlifting world. It's kind of a small niche community. So a lot of us know each other. I was able to open up my gym during, quarantine. I actually built a garage gym. So I did have a garage gym for a while during quarantine. At the time, it was back and forth of if we weren't having people in the house, but like at the peak of, COVID lockdown, we weren't letting anyone in the house basically. And I had all this extra equipment. So I rented some stuff out, but I also threw together a makeshift gym in the garage where it was basically like, you can come over and work out just in the garage and then, just go home. So did that for a while. But yeah, as far as having people over every Sunday for the past 4 or 5 years, there's always been at least a couple people over. And then more recently, some people can't make it over on Sunday, so I've been opening it up once or twice a month for a Friday night pre-scheduled lift. And then twice a year, I try to have like an actual larger gathering where I try to get at least a dozen people down here. And I think it's been like 10-ish for the last couple of years, at least on two 1 or 2 times a year. Well, actually, I call those the lift parties, where it's actually like you might not get the exact session you want because even though we have 20 barbells and 2 places to deadlift, it's kind of hard to, get every piece of equipment you want that day, but it's just more about the atmosphere and, just meeting new people. But yeah, for me, it's all just about, hanging out with people, like lifting with like-minded people. I don't have a whole lot of CrossFitters and bodybuilders coming down here, so it's mostly powerlifters.
Do you charge people to use your gym, or is it just
no,
come hang out?
No, yeah, it's all like it's as much for me as it is for them. I mean, most people already have commercial gym memberships, so they're making a conscious decision to come here versus going to their commercial gym just so they can have a little bit different atmosphere. If I had a walkout basement with a secondary bathroom or something, I probably could rent it out to some trainers and then they could train clients and stuff. But I mean, my gym is literally in my basement. You have to walk through my kitchen to get to my gym. It's just, that's a little too intrusive to have just people that I'm not already friends with come over. Not to say that I haven't had people that I've ran. Some of the people that train with me now are people that I've literally sold gym equipment to. And I don't know if you guys, I'm sure both of you flipped stuff over the years. I'm pretty known of, hey, so you're starting a home gym. Do you want to come check out my gym? And then I'll, give them a full tour and, actually finding people that actually care and want to see what your gym looks like. It pretty much has to be someone buying gym equipment because I know my friends and family don't care.
Do you think you've ever you might know, persuaded anyone to start their own home gym? So they're in the commercial setting, they come lift at your place and then they end up starting their own?
For sure. Probably more so during, I helped a few people build them during when gyms were closed. I did my best to help people facilitate some equipment. And I had to have a couple people I had a guy the other day, actually, I saw on social media. I think we were I think we knew each other because I sold him some stuff a few years ago, but I didn't 100% remember him. And we were both in like the home gym Facebook group, I believe. And he made a comment about how, I think it actually might have been on, it was on a Reddit post when I posted some pictures that Gluck took of my gym. And he was like, "You're the reason that I have all this gym equipment now, because I bought a pair of plates off of you like 4 years ago, and I've been following you on, social media, and I just keep upgrading my gym because you're motivating me." Like that was like one of the coolest compliments, I've kind of ever gotten. So yeah, I hope that this gym inspires a couple people to, buy more stuff.
Sweet. And we hear you're big fans of Garage Gym Reviews.
Oh yeah. If selling out was a business, he'd be number one. Yeah, I could go. So it's not even what he did. It's more of the lack of disclosure. Like, how can you have hundreds of thousands of followers and not disclose that you don't own all of your company anymore? And like just how you're getting paid to push this shit that no one wants. Like, I don't get it. And then like, if you would say that in a public forum, like you're like, I'd be a martyr. I don't really care. Like, most people know, anyone that follows my memes and my stories know how I feel about him already. So, I mean, he was the GOAT. I mean, I followed his shit for years. He had some of the best content for like a 5-year span. And then basically he peaked in 2019. It's the same as the Facebook group did too. Like, as soon as COVID hit, that Facebook group got just horrible.
I'm not in the Facebook group. What's that? What does the Facebook group look like?
So, I mean, it used to just be like, 10,000 like-minded people. Now it's, I don't even, don't quote me on it. It's probably 10 times that now, but it's a lot of just newbies that don't understand, you just get the new questions, and then just, it's toxic. I don't even want to, there's like 10 different things I could say about it, but there's still a lot of good material in there. It's just a lot of overdone jokes that aren't funny anymore. Like, everyone's answer to everything is Solmat now for some reason, because that's funny. Like, I don't get it. Like, it was funny the first time 3 years ago, but now it's kind of over. Because the whole thing is, everyone, like, someone asked the group the question 5 times a day, what's the best flooring? So then it's obviously Stallmat, but then people say Stallmat to an answer to any question is just because they're funny. Right. They're trying to be funny. So it's just
I got it now.
Yeah, it's just overdone. But I still watch his content, but it's like I'm just waiting for something to actually be relevant to what I would want. But for the most part, it's just like, yeah, I'll start it, but I'm not going to finish it. But I don't know. It's I don't know. It's a sad story.
Well, I think that's going to do it.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Sweet. Well, Keith, we appreciate you, man. One more time, where can people find you?
So my personal page is Keith Honeycutt 73, but no one really cares about that. So go follow my gym at the No Whine Cellar on Instagram.
The No Whine Cellar basement gym, because basements are better than garages.
They are, and orange is the best color in the world.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Did you like tonight's episode? Be sure to keep your eye out for new episode releases wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay involved on our social media sites by following Garage Gym Experiment and taking part in our Sunday surveys on Instagram so that you can be a part of the conversation. Like, follow, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and get involved in our website for all your home gym content needs. Jake, do you have anything else left for the listeners?
Nope.
Well, that's going to do it for us.